now, Audrey?
You, Charlie, it's you. I just never really saw you before the way I'm seeing you now. Like I'm meeting a different person. Who are you, Charlie?
Okay, off comes the coach.
Hey everyone, Greg and Ryan here for another breakdown of Twin Peaks: The Return. This is part 15. This episode has some heartwarming moments, frustrating moments, and a moment we may have been waiting for all season long, and a coffee percolator possibly impersonating David Bowie.
There is definitely something fishy in that percolator. Now, before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the Universe channel. We've got Game of Thrones, Rick and Morty, and of course, Twin Peaks.
There were a lot of scenes with perilously little plot in the town of Twin Peaks this week, mostly fan service and touching tributes. If you thought James singing in the Roadhouse was the biggest fan service so far, well, that's got nothing on Norma and Ed scene. Now, the opening act so far, we got two kind of sort of confirmations with Norma, Nadine, and Ed. So Nadine and Ed were still together apparently. And since she woke up from her cheerleading phase, high school teen drama thing that happened.
That blew my theory that she might actually have gone back to Mike somewhere in the interim period of time. Blew that out. It seems like maybe they were kind of estranged, though. We didn't really see them together earlier in the season at all, and we only see her alone, probably in the office of her shop or maybe at home.
Yeah.
So you could see definitely that, that strut down the street with the gold shovel was like, she finally got over it.
Ed, you are free.
I say this every week, but patience. Again, another scene where we get Ed, he's just meditating, thinking of a world better than the one he's in right now, probably. And we get the moment that we've all been waiting for with Otis Redding.
I've been loving you.
So the rest of that scene is Norma giving up her relationship with Walter in the franchise business of the Double R chain to maintain the original as is, and then hooking up with Ed. And
boom, boom.
It's a great heartwarming moment. It's really, in that moment, Shelley is the audience.
That scene, because first you think that, oh, is this a dream? Is he making this up in their head? But the editor and David Lynch give us a moment with Shelley just to give us a little bit confirmation that this might be real, at least.
Right, it's not all in Big Ed's head.
Yes.
It's all very optimistic. It's just about the only good thing that's happened in the town of Twin Peaks.
Don't make me stop now.
We also see Stephen and Gersten Hayward for the first time, and possibly the last time in a while. They are out in the woods. Stephen is borderline incoherent, likely whacked out on drugs, and talking about suicide. After a dog walker disrupts their moment, Gersten flees and we hear a gunshot. We don't see Stephen shoot himself, a little odd considering all of the explosive head gore we've seen this season, but if he is dead, it would give some insight into where we are in the timeline. I honestly had to turn on subtitles to understand half of his dialogue. I'm glad I did too, because even though I don't see much significance in it, Stephen saying, "Will I be with the rhinoceros? The lightning in the bottle, or will I be like completely turquoise?" is some classically eerie Twin Peaks dialogue. If anybody has a deeper reading on that, let us know in the comments too. There is one thing that happens in the town of Twin Peaks that is potentially significant to the plot.
Yes. No, not ZZ Top. We're talking about James and Freddie. They get in some fisticuffs with Renee's boyfriend, husband.
Husband, I think?
Husband, Chuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, husband. She has a ring at one point. And she also doesn't have a ring at another point. Not getting into that. Quick aside here, I don't think this is Charlie and Audrey's Chuck of Chuck and Tina, who may or may not have been at Megan's house when Billy showed up all bloody and was seen for the last time. Those worlds are still not tangibly connected. Freddie promptly dispatches the two guys with his pile-driving green glove and lands the two of them in Twin Peaks jail. Of likely significance here is that Freddie is now with Nido and was likely dispatched by the firemen to protect her. Everybody who was worried about Nido's safety last week too, thinking like maybe Andy locked her up in a dangerous spot, well now you got Freddie in there.
Fuck you, punk.
Even though Twin Peaks proper didn't advance the plot in this part, Frost and Lynch do jump us over to Las Vegas to wrap a few things up. First, and I have to eat my hat on this one, last week I said, and by the way, those two guys, they seem like maybe mildly more competent than the Fusco brothers.
We don't know yet. Time will tell. The FBI agents are clearly spinning their wheels. They brought in an entire family who were clearly the wrong people. At this point, it seems highly unlikely that at the end of 18 parts, the long arm of the law in Las Vegas will have figured anything out. Why that might not matter, we'll get into a little later. Meanwhile, also in Las Vegas, the two most competent hatchet woman and man in the series show up to dispatch the positively most incompetent hatchet man in the series. I'm gonna go on record saying I feel sorry for Duncan Todd. Guy was being manipulated, and who knows at what threat, by Mr. Cooper with the misfortune of understanding just how dangerous and precarious his situation was. Maybe his fear of Cooper kept him from making a single good decision ever. Afterward, we get another excellent Tarantino-esque criminals waxing philosophical moment. Here, Mark Frost recalls the extermination of Native Americans, significant to his novel The Secret History of Twin Peaks, as Hutch and Chantel reflect on the hypocrisy of state-sanctioned murder.
It's a nation of killers killing all along, killed damn near all the Indians, didn't they?
Here, Chantel also laments not being able to torture anyone in a long time.
It's no fun torturing a corpse.
I feel like this may be the last time we see Chantel and Hutch. At the very least, it might be the last time we get any of this really delicious dialogue.
Yeah. I'm not sure just yet if it's going to be Chantal's last scene, because she does say on the phone, one down, one more to go. These scenes, again, could be taken out of order, so that could be Warden Murphy they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't know.
Okay, I just want to get this out of the way before we get to the two Coopers, because it's driving us all nuts. We have our third scene at the home of Audrey and Charlie. This time they are at the front damn door, so they don't get out of the house. The scene ends with Audrey angrily assaulting Charlie.
How can you be like this? I hate your fucking guts. I hate you. Do you know how much I fucking hate you?
At this point, we have to figure that one of the many theories out there has to be about right. We've got the coma, we've got Charlie as a therapist, we've got Charlie as a writer who's writing something about the Roadhouse.
I'm leaning towards coma, but it could also just be a theater performance. What if they're all just performing and then at the very end of it, they look at the camera and then we get an audience just clapping?
You know, honestly, I can see that. It's an isolated set. It's in a single house. It's like a Mammoth-esque type thing. And now my favorite part of every recap,
Dougie Jones.
Our weekly check-in with Dougie Jones. And here's the big question, is this our last weekly check-in with Dougie Jones?
We got a comment right before the episode from Illuminat.me on Twitter who says, I'm dead set that tonight will prove if Dougie stays Dougie for the rest of the series. At this point, I would love nothing more if part 16 opens up at a funeral for Dougie Jones.
I'd also like to slip in here a little wingnut theory I have going right now, which is that Janie E. and Sonny Jim are actually Mrs. Tremond and her grandson, so that once Dougie is shocked out of Dougie and he becomes Dale again, he finds he's in like a totally different place. Like it's not the same family, it's not the same people. Naomi Watts is gone.
Sure.
All right. It starts innocently enough, like many Dougie scenes before it, opening with Dougie eating and Janie E. talking about how happy she is with their marriage.
It's like all our dreams are coming true.
After Janie leaves, Dougie turns on the TV, which is showing Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard. And then this happens.
I will be next.
Get Gordon Cole.
After maybe being partially awakened by the name of his former commander, Dougie proceeds to crawl to a light socket and, well...
Sure, just bring him back. I don't give a damn how you bring him back at this point.
Is Dale back? Was it Sunset Boulevard? I mean, it wasn't cherry pie, it wasn't coffee, it wasn't taking out Ike the Spike, it wasn't getting to Twin Peaks or seeing any of the people he used to know. It was a clip from Sunset Boulevard.
Gordon Cole. Finally, let's check in with Mr. C and his journey to the Dutchmans, aka the convenience store. It seems very likely that the Dutchmans was code for the world above the convenience store. Dutchmans could stand for the Flying Dutchman's ship. It was a legendary ghost ship that can never make it to port and is doomed to sail the oceans forever. Mr. C is looking for Phillip Jeffries.
I'm looking for Phillip Jeffries.
We see the same room from Fire Walk With Me that was in Laura's dream. And this might be the same woodsman who sat at his post years ago in Fire Walk With Me. He activates an electrical generator and the jumping man returns for a brief moment. Now, Reddit points out that the scene with the jumping man and the faces turning, there's quick shots everywhere in there, and one of them is Sarah Palmer. Now, a lot of people think there's also Leland in there or David Bowie, but if you keep slowing it down and looking through frame by frame, it's actually a bunch of different people's faces changing. So it's not just two people, or it's not just Sarah. It might be a few more, so I don't know where they're going with that just yet, but they definitely have Sarah's face in there.
Mr. C is then led through another corridor to the stairs we saw in Gordon Cole's vision in South Dakota, where Hastings and Davenport were murdered. At the top of the stairs, there's a short hallway that leads to a door which Mr. C opens onto a motel parking lot. Now, this is the Red Diamond City Motel from Fire Walk With Me, where Leland almost sleeps with Teresa Ronette and his daughter Laura, and where, when he flees, he crosses the jumping Tremond kid. Mr. C goes to a corner room, but physically, this is not the same room that Leland stayed in with Teresa Banks. That's actually on the other side of the parking lot. He proceeds into the motel room where the lights flicker and then the wall sort of slides away and reveals a White Lodge-esque room-sized heater or ventilation device. Some have called it a tea kettle. There is a telltale Lynch spotlight illuminating the steam that emanates from the thing.
Jeffries. Thank God.
It looks like we're going to find out who Judy is once and for all very soon.
Who is Judy? Does Judy want something from me?
Jeffries gives Mr. C some coordinates that seem to be the same ones that the FBI pulled off of Ruth Davenport's body a few parts back. Now, my heart still says it could be Major Briggs, aka Judy Garland, but I feel like this kind of confirms they're gonna show somebody, and it may not be an inanimate object such as a kettle or a tree. It could be a real human this time. So if that's the case, then I'm gonna go with Sarah Palmer.
I'm with you. I can see Sarah Palmer. It makes sense that she wanted to be back with Bob again.
Yeah, she could have been the one that called Mr. C earlier in the season for all we know.
I'm in the Black Lodge with the Cooper.
And that's kind of interesting too, because it maybe lends to this idea that, you know, the dark forces in the world have just been scattered just about as much as the good forces, and they're just trying to get back together.
Yeah,
like
Mother.
after the bomb exploded, it's like getting Bob back to the mother.
Yeah, it could be Mother, Experiment, or Jumping Man using Sarah as a vessel to talk to Mr. C for all we know, to get him back.
You are going back in tomorrow, and I will be with Bob again.
Who is this?
Okay, everyone, who do you think Judy is in the comment section below? Is it Major Briggs? Is it Laura Palmer? Or is it Sarah Palmer? Or someone else entirely different? Let us know in the comment section below.
Oh, Linda.
Where the f*** is Linda?
So after sort of taking a phone call in the motel room that transports him out to the front of the convenience store, Mr. Cooper is confronted by Richard Horn. And Richard recognizes him from photographs that belong to his mom, Audrey Horn. Now, Mr. C quickly disarms him and tells him to never threaten him again, and then get in the truck. I think we're about to see that father-son road trip that we've been waiting for. Now, I just want to pick up a couple of small details on the backside of talking about Mr. C here. One, he says to Jeffries, "Are you the one who called me 5 days ago?" That places this moment squarely in space and time for the timeline of things. The phone call was, of course, from the motel room way at the beginning of the season. Right after Mr. C throws Richard into the car, he sends his text message, Las Vegas, to Diane. Now, she received that text message a few parts ago, and that gives us another sort of angle of what the space and time relationship is.
It kind of helps out a little bit because I think now we can tell that the events moving forward are starting to converge a little bit, even if the timelines are a little wonky in all the parts.
It also helps answer the question of how Diane had the coordinates and didn't communicate them to Mr. C.
Yes.
And it turns out that she got the coordinates on the same night that he got the coordinates. The way that Phillip Jeffries said, "You are Cooper."
You are Cooper.
I'm still kind of on this thing that, like, good Dale, bad Dale is like almost like
The
an interpretation
his soul or his mind, he has something there, because he does remember things from Dale, because Dale, the real Dale Cooper, was in that scene in 1989.
Right.
Not bad Dale.
Right. We think.
Exactly.
But right. And so there is still Dale in Cooper. You can tell too that, compared to what a loose cannon wingnut Leland Palmer was with Bob in him, Dale Cooper with Bob in him is calculating, still intelligent, still inquisitive, still trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
It's still Coop.
Lastly, we want to give a farewell to a character we're going to miss dearly from Twin Peaks.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by.
No. We're talking about the Log Lady. I've never seen anything like this before. It was meta, it was touching, it was beautiful. The lights go out at the very end.
And the beautiful Badalamenti score.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Okay, now we got a few Easter eggs and comments to go to.
I really like this one. Mark Frost, the co-creator of Twin Peaks and author of Twin Peaks: The Return, shows up in a little cameo.
Nope. Secret history.
God damn it! Mark Frost, the co-creator of Twin Peaks and author of The Secret History of Twin Peaks, shows up as the dog walker in the forest with the Stephen and Gersten scene. Another one I really liked was that, this episode didn't end with the Roadhouse number. And instead, we had credits rolling over the Red Diamond Motel. And right at the end, you can see the creepy, bosomy woman standing just in the darkness in the garage or the shed or whatever that is.
Is that Judy? Or Linda? It's Linda. It's gotta be Linda. We got it. Linda. Boom. Done. Out of here.
Another little detail, and I know it isn't exactly like an Easter egg, but a little moment was in the empty conference room before we find out that Margaret is dead, is the moment where Sheriff Truman is sitting there looking at low-res, maybe clip art pictures of fish.
What the hell was he doing? In the dark.
In the dark. Just insight into the psyche of Sheriff Truman.
Just clicking away. All right, okay, cool.
I think Wally Brando had a good read on him.
Damn. And finally, you might have noticed that the music in this episode was from ZZ Top and Otis Redding. Well, David Lynch gave an interview to Spin Magazine back in 2013 where he said, "I love ZZ Top. They're one of my all-time great groups. Their new album I'm really wild about. I love Jimi Hendrix, and when he played Monterey Pop and sang Wild Thing, that was an unbelievable moment. I saw it on a VHS tape. In that same tape, I saw Otis Redding perform I've Been Loving You. I cried several times. I couldn't believe how beautiful it was."
That's pretty cool, actually, that he was talking about them sort of at the same time, and then years later they get woven into the same episode. Okay, let's grab a couple comments from last week. Resisting One on YouTube asked, "What if Twin Peaks: The Return is just a series of dreams and hallucinations by High Jerry Horn in the woods? It wouldn't be the most satisfying ending."
It's better still than Audrey in a coma. And this is all a dream, but still, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'll take Jerry Horn high over Audrey in a coma. Ian Boothby on YouTube said, "It feels like the fireman speaks to everyone in a way they'd understand. For the British guy, like a superhero origin story. For Dale, he talks to him like it's a mystery. For Andy, basically a picture book." I actually really like that observation.
Me too.
Because we were talking a line of shit last week about how is it that the fireman gave really clear instructions to Freddy, and then everyone else, it's got to be like some kind of mind f***. The Sonic Raven on YouTube writes, "I'm pretty sure that Sarah Palmer has been possessed by the mother. She of course is the mother of Laura Palmer. However, she also shows up in the same episode and is shown to be dangerous. She is so powerful Naito would need to be locked up to be protected, and Andy must have seen a glimpse in his trip to the lodge. Also, clearly the Palmers are very susceptible to possession."
I agree. I think there's something possessing her, that's for damn sure. But we don't know if it's Mother Experiment or now Jumping Man for all we know.
It definitely feels like we're building to Sarah Palmer being the center of the blackness in Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. Or whatever's in her kitchen.
Linda, Judy, Laura. Okay, everyone, that's it for us over here. Make sure to hit us up in the comment section if we missed anything down below.
And as always, you can hit us up on Twitter. Our handles are in the description.
Later, guys.